Hi. This development that's received quite a lot of publicity from news organisations like Al Jazeera and the Real News Network has really barely been covered by British mainstream. Basically, this upcoming GE is a huge distraction from a lot of serious stuff that's going on globally right now. So why is the US saying illegal Israeli settlements are okay, which is exactly what they are saying right now? And at the beginning here we had Mike Pompeo saying, that this is never going to be resolved. We are never going to resolve this issue and it isn't helping the peace process. So apparently from that we can only assume that the peace process will be adequately, and it will be adequately addressed when Israel owns every single part of Palestine. That's obviously the grounds for the peace process. So by that criteria, it means if you're a big, powerful, strong nation with big, powerful, strong friends, then you can go and take over whichever country you like. If the people start trying to defend their lands and territories, then they're terrorists. And if you want peace, then you're just going to have to let them take your homes and your lands. The fact remains that all the occupied territories are illegal settlements. They are outside of the borders that were granted as Israel to form part of the state of Israel, and all the settlements outside those areas do not belong to Israel. They are Palestinian lands in which people from Israel have settled by order of Israel and with the help of Israeli military and government. Now, anybody can come and buy a property in Britain and maybe even buy some land. Perhaps a few hundred people from abroad may come and buy one area, all the properties in one village in England. That does not then give them the right to say, well, actually this village is now part of, say, Saudi Arabia. No, it isn't. It is part of Britain, you see. But it seems when it comes to Israel that this kind of insane thinking does apply. And this recent statement now by the Trump administration is a huge red flag now to the whole of the world, because this is fascism. That's it. There's no other word for it. We're talking absolute fascism. Please face the cloven hoof at the door. Please get together, people in every nation, and slam that door shut. Do not let it in. Because if you give it an inch, it will take 10 miles. It will. You can't trust them. They lie, they connive, they commit crimes, they thrive on blackmail and bribery, they elicit people to commit crimes, enticements, entrapments, get the goods on people, put yes men in power. Basically every type of criminal at the moment is running finance. Our governments, our authorities have been infiltrated, full of corruption, especially on drugs, on illegal drugs. That's why we have to end prohibition. Prohibition has really, absolutely, totally corrupted everything from banking to politics to policing, you name it. It's just corrupt as hell. And a large majority of the crimes that are being committed, people have been resorting to committing crime towards paying for medical costs. I mean, that whole series, very popular series, Breaking Bad. What is the foundation for that series of a guy who needs money to pay for cancer treatment and to look after his family when he's dead? You know, it's so what does he do? Oh, he resorts to cooking up methamphetamine. Prohibition needs to end. Anybody that can't see that. But prohibition has delivered. The Trump administration, it's that kind of mentality, that kind of consciousness that is involved in things like people trafficking, child sexual abuse, illegal drugs, fraudulent, financial fraud and theft and tax avoidance, and just all kinds of, you know, fake charities where the funds aren't going to the people or organisations the charity claims to be serving. Instead, oh, we find it goes straight into Trump's family pockets. And still nothing has been done, you know. 40 odd women citing Trump as a sex offender, his own recorded self-confession. Still the man is sitting as president. These are all very bad examples. This is a very bad role model for the youth, especially of America, and actually the youth of the world, to be seen, well, crime pays. You just have to make sure that you commit really bad crimes and you just lie through your teeth when you're confronted and cast slurs and slanders against the people, mostly the victims of your crimes. You know, they're liars, they're this, they're that. But as I say, I think, you know, this really does, as far as a country like Britain is concerned, therefore, if this is coming from the American government, then, and without any statements against this from Congress, then Britain now has to view America as a hostile nation, that it is actually a hostile force, because they are openly supporting war crimes against the Palestinian people. And for what reason? I mean, have the Palestinian people threatened Americans or America? Have they threatened British? Have they threatened anybody, actually? Have they not stood and tried to fight for their land? Have they not actually retaliated very mildly against very harsh and heavy attacks against them from Israel, and often unprovoked, like the recent bombings that have taken place, and immediately Palestinians blamed for the few paltry rockets that harmed nobody that were fired in response to an attack against the people of Palestine from Israel on the grounds that they were out to kill some jihadi leader. But that is not a way that any nation goes about addressing terrorism, that you just, you know, you cite a group of terrorists living somewhere in a nation, so you just go and bomb that nation, do you? You don't send in the police, you don't do an investigation, you don't arrest people, put them on trial, none of that. You just go and bomb a place and, oh, actually, we got the wrong place. Oh, we thought it was an empty house. Children are dead. A whole family's dead. And then immediately after this, you know, there we've got Mike Pompeo here saying that the Israeli settlements aren't illegal. They're okay. They're okay. This is a very serious development, and I don't understand why it's not being taken more seriously by the British media and addressed in no uncertain terms that this is a sign of outright fascism. This is support. Now, you know, the gloves are off. Look, we can see what you are, America, under this Trump regime. You are basically a puppet of Netanyahu. That's what you are. Now, I don't believe the American people are that. I don't believe that the administrations of America really support this. But I do understand that this is telling me that America has suffered a coup. It's been a coup run by an actual criminal media campaign. Packs of lies have managed to find them. Criminals have been placed into public office by appealing to criminals in America and gullible people, and preying on the vulnerable, the dissatisfied, the persecuted, people feeling persecuted because they're poor. Giving people freedom to spout racist ideology. Inviting that kind of rhetoric into the public sphere to the extent that people are emboldened to go out and murder people and attack synagogues and mosques. The increased militarisation of the police force with itself, its own obviously racist attitude. I mean, there's just no denying it. And increasing abuse of police powers. These are all the elements of a fascist state that America is becoming. And I would go far to say has become. Definitely has become. Because only a fascist state could stand there and say what he has just said. That is outright fascism. That is a fascism. To say that Israel has a right to take any territories of Palestine, settle their own people there, claim them as Israeli territories in any place around Israel. And, you know, I'll leave the link to the Greater Israel Project. Check it out. Apparently it was a conspiracy theory. No, it isn't. It's a conspiracy fact. It's a plot, a plan, a scheme, and he's supporting it. The Trump administration are supporting it. And, you know, the irony is that it's the same far-right fascism, actually, that is anti-Semitic. And, this is itself evidence that the people calling themselves Zionists and Jewish, which, let's face it, there's Christian Zionists and Muslim Zionists and even atheist Zionists, the oligarchs, because they're in it for the money. There's money there. That's what it's really about. The Zionists have money. They control the banking systems. And that is what it is all about. We are looking at, really intellectual whores in that sense. That these people will do or say anything. Actors paid to repeat a script. That isn't what we need in politics. It is dangerous. This is danger, danger, danger. This is what's coming to Britain now through Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings. It is a very serious matter that Britain's security services have failed to act. That is a very serious matter because they are there to protect government, democracy and our economy, and they have failed to act in arresting Boris Johnson. Our courts have failed to act. So Britain is defenceless because with no law and no security services, of course, a group of oligarchs are free to come and buy up people like Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings and Dominic Raab and whoever to speak out for them, to demolish the powers of our security services to the extent that there's nobody there, actually, who's prepared to arrest or do anything to stop these lying criminal fascists that have taken over Number 10 and now control the media itself controlled by the same forces that promoted and support Trump and him, people like Rupert Murdoch, who loathe our human rights, loathe workers' rights, loathe environmental protection laws. In fact, all of these things apparently are communist. And anybody who condemns the illegal settlements, well, apparently we're anti-Semitic. Well, I for one am not anti-Semitic, and I would never tolerate any persecution of people for their faith. But at the same time, I will not tolerate people committing crimes on the grounds that, well, this person's a Jew or a Christian, and actually, if you cite their crimes, you're being anti-Christian or you're being anti-Jew. Sorry, that doesn't come into it, because we know damn well that people of every faith and none commit crimes or don't commit crimes. We can't judge each other according to our faith or lack of it. The Israeli settlements, the illegal Israeli settlements are not okay, Mike Pompeo. They are illegal. They are criminal. They are illegal. Now, what's to be done about it? The only thing that can be done about it, really, is either the people leave and go and live in Israel if they want to be part of Israel, or they're prepared to stay in those settlements and accept that they are now living on Palestinian territory, and they will pay their taxes to the Palestinian government and they will be part of Palestine. So either they're going to accept that or they're going to leave. That's the way it's going to be. And the same with the Golan Heights in Syria. The Jewish settlers there that are either going to accept that they're now part of Syria and pay their taxes to Syria and be Syrian citizens, or they will leave and go and live in Israel if they wish to be part of Israel. But they cannot be considered Israeli citizens while they are living on foreign territories that they have taken illegally and by force. That is terrorism. So until this world, the politicians of this world, and especially the politicians of Europe now, you're going to have to pull your finger out. You're going to have to stand up and get a backbone and start speaking out. Because I tell you, this whole world is going to fall apart if we are not prepared to stand by the rule of law.